All right, everybody. Happy Monday. This is Off Day with Ballpark Nation. I've got Andy Tom Chesson. Andy, last episode, we said goodbye to Alex Bregman permanently with He Had Stopped Loving Her Today, which is, I think, the saddest breakup song of all time. We're going to let him go now. He's gone, but we got some fun new stuff going on. Spring training.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't think anybody told Astros Twitter that we're letting Alex Bregman go because we're getting literally minute-by-minute updates of what he's doing in spring training games. Every ball scratch, every spits.
And then
you're gonna get to know about it. And
he's
now
having a better spring than he ever had in Houston. No, he often had good springs in Houston. That was why
he changed his swing and he worked on it all off season and he changed something up and then proceeded to not hit till then.
Then he faced real Major League arms when he got in April.
Hey, I wish him well. The show wishes him well. I don't know much I don't know that we could send him off any better than you sent him off last week with a George Jones song.
I don't either.
But literally, Astros fans, let him go. Just let it go. You have a whole new team that you could watch and enjoy.
That's going to be different, but I think good. Now, one of the things, my favorite part of this time of year, I guess now it's taking a back seat to the coping with Bregman leaving, is the overrated spring training take. And there are a lot of them. And I get it that it's a time for optimism, but what is just so silly to me is how many fans think we've had two spring training games? It's three because of split squad.
It was a split squad on Saturday.
Yeah. So there's nothing to gather yet, but my favorite has been the Astros management must have something against Zach DeCenzo, because if they would just let him play, he's guaranteed to be an all-star. Andy, first of all, what are your thoughts on him?
Well, I could stick my head up a bull's ass and stamp it guaranteed. Let me murder that quote.
Which is a quote he murdered anyway, so that's fine.
Yeah, I got nothing against Zach DeCenzo. I have a huge amount against people overreacting to anything that happens in Florida or Arizona over the next 28 days or so. It's spring training. I think I saw yesterday that we had a first baseman hit leadoff. That's not going to happen in a real season. Cooper Hummel is not going to be your leadoff hitter, I don't think, in any major league games of consequence ever in his life. I mean, not even a hangover game. I don't think they would even. We've won the division by 30 games. They're not letting him play. They're not letting him hit leadoff. He was hitting leadoff yesterday, and the Astros won 11-6 over a really bad Cardinals team. But again, it's not the Cardinals team. It's the Cardinals AA team.
Yeah.
Nothing that happens matters right now. Nothing.
And like pitchers aren't even really throwing breaking stuff yet. Like, I mean, it's so.
Or they're exclusively throwing breaking stuff.
Yeah, I guess we have. Well, I think we'll be entering the working on stuff period pretty soon. I think now they're just trying to make sure they can get through an inning.
But I think like Eric Getty got the start yesterday. It was literally throw 30 pitches. That's your goal.
Mm-hmm.
The end. Don't really care what happens with them. Don't get hurt.
Be excited that it's back. Try not to make any predictions on what's going to happen in September based on what's happening in February.
I think for me, the best thing about spring training baseball is the noises of baseball. You get to hear people hit the ball. You get to hear that crack of the bat. You get to hear the commentators talk. You get to hear the crowd murmur. Beyond that, paying attention to pitch by pitch of what's happening in a spring training game it's the most mental masturbation thing I can think of for a baseball fan, because it literally means nothing and you're often doing it by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. And I get that people want to, like, I understand it. There was a bad taste left in your mouth after the wild card series last year where, the Astros drew, and we said this going into the wild card, that was the worst possible matchup for them. And it went the way I think we thought it would, but claiming that just because they're still considering an Arenado trade or signing another free agent because, oh my God, they're blocking Zach DeCenzo it's crazy talk is really what it is.
Well, I would say this about Zach DeCenzo. He is such a good third base prospect that they were looking at playing him at first before they signed Christian Walker, and now they're looking at playing him in left because they have a hole there. I guess to back up Jose Altuve, who it is becoming clear is going to have fewer and fewer opportunities at second base, at least during the early going because they're really trying to make this Altuve to left field thing happen. I guess we're going to call it fetch. Maybe fetch will actually work out this time. Zach DeCenzo's a fine player, but he projects to basically being a major league utility player. Mm-hmm. If he can start hitting breaking balls, then maybe that's a little bit better. But he's not somebody that – let's put it this way. If you traded him for Zach Greinke 4 years ago, nobody would care because he's that level of player.
Right.
He's Seth Beer.
He's Seth Beer, exactly. I did see I saw a funny tweet about Astros fans. Quit posting stuff on Bregman. He's gone. Also, Astros fans, I can't wait till he hits 150 and the Boston fans go crazy. We talked about it last week, though. That's not going to be a good marriage, I don't think. Are there any big spring training over their skis moments that you have laughed at as you've seen? We've already talked a little bit about the DeCenzo thing.
I mean, mine is just from Major League Baseball. I got a notification on my phone yesterday asking me if I missed any of the thrilling highlights of the first full day of spring training. I said, no, because there are none. That's not a thing that happens. These are games that don't count. Any home runs you're hitting in Florida this time of year are wind dated, to say the least. Pitchers are way ahead of hitters at this point. So it's, again, about the noises of baseball, but there were no thrilling moments that I needed to catch up on. Major League Baseball, stop trying. Nobody cares about NFL preseason either, and they're perfectly okay with it. I don't even know if the NBA plays preseason games anymore. I don't know what the point would be.
Yeah.
Most of November and December are preseason games in the NBA.
That's right. One of the big things that came out of spring training, and this is how I think low everybody is, how low everybody's just availability for stories is. Like McTaggart wrote an entire column on how jacked John Singleton is. And like, yeah, he's jacked, but he wasn't exactly small before. And, he got caught by some reporters in the parking lot before spring training, talking about how disappointed he was with the Christian Walker signing. I don't blame him. I blame reporters for cornering the poor guy trying to get groceries into the car. But does it matter how big John Singleton gets to you?
No, it really, really doesn't. But again, you've got to fill up a byline, whether that's online or in print or I guess local television media. Again, spring training means nothing. So you've got to fill up the time with stories because there are fans who care about what's going on with John Singleton's abs or ab. I don't think he has a six-pack. I know he's ripped and cut and everything, and McTaggart's very happy about that. But I think it's just one big ab.
Yeah.
And I relate to that one big ab story. Singleton to me is a better story would be, does he have a place on the roster? That'd be a fun thing to talk about, but they're not going to corner him in a grocery store parking lot to ask him that because his wife would probably jump out of the car and start hitting them with her purse.
Yeah.
Or worse. Singleton's a great story 2 years ago, and it was fine that he was on the roster last year. It was our best first baseman for most of last year, but that's kind of damning with faint praise. Singleton's a guy who can play one position and doesn't necessarily play it all that well. His hit tool is not what it needs to be. He has really great power when he makes contact, but the contact's just not there enough. But if you look at the kind of guys that the Astros have brought to camp, they are looking for guys who can play multiple positions, who especially have flexibility to play middle infield and outfield. And he can't do that. So the only thing that keeps him on the opening day roster in my mind is that he's completely out of options and they would have to expose him to waivers. But I kind of feel like they're going to not hesitate to expose him to waivers or give him his outright release at that point. It's a great story. I wish him well. I got no animus or hatred towards John Singleton, but I just don't know that he is a full-time major league player in 2025.
No, he's not. And you're right. It's like the line in A Christmas Story. The whole damn team's a bunch of utility infielders, but that's what they're looking for because they're looking for backups that can play multiple positions. And if they stumble into landing a full-time, I agree. I think Altuve is the full-time left fielder. So I can still see a world where if they do drastically improve at third base, Paredes going to second, or we talked about signing former Gold Glove second baseman. So, yeah, definitely the writing is not on the wall for a long Singleton career in Houston this season. But again, doesn't take away from what the incredible story it was, and he should make a living on the motivational speaker circuit very soon.
Absolutely. Or let Lindsay do it. I don't care.
Yeah, yeah. Arenado thing, there was whispers about it. Then the whispers said no. Now there are whispers again. To me, it just seems much ado about nothing. I wouldn't hate the move because for as much as it would still be a high AAV, it's still only 3 years versus 6 with Bregman if that's what we would have done. But it's still looking like it's pretty much dead in the water. I always question, though, when things keep coming up. Like if the rumors keep starting to get recirculated, does it mean anything?
I don't know what to make of it. I think that Ari Alexander here in Houston kind of shot it down as soon as it came back up. He's pretty steadfast that he doesn't believe it's the thing that's going to happen. But if you added him to the roster, I've seen this narrative already this morning, that Dana Brown doesn't know what he's doing because why would he take on Arenado's salary but wouldn't pay Bregman an extra $5 million a year to make that work? I know I'm doing what I said we shouldn't do, but let's go back to Alex Bregman for a second. Alex Bregman didn't want to play here. If he did, he would have signed here.
Yeah.
So clearly he went to go chase a number. We weren't willing to meet that number. Boston overshot that number by a lot, and that's where he signed. If he had wanted to play here, it would have gotten done. Arenado, I don't also think doesn't want to play here for whatever reason. Maybe he softened on that after he realized that the Cardinals made absolutely no moves to get better this spring or this winter. Sorry, Scott McIntyre. So for me, if he's here, that's great. It would really depend on what we're giving up, but what we have to give up isn't all that great anyway. I mean, there's literally 5 players I would be upset about. The rest of our minor league roster is kind of cannon fodder at this point. So I would assume this is some sort of move just to move some of Arenado's contract off of the St. Louis ledger. They would still have to pay some of it from what I'm reading. Is he a better third baseman than what we have on the roster right now? I don't know. He certainly is more experienced, probably a little bit better defensively. He's certainly on a decline offensively. But if that gives you Gold Glove defense at third base because he's still okay there and puts Paredes at second, I don't know that that's the worst thing in the world for the Astros. But I don't know that it's a move they have to make either.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll only be made if it's the right thing. But I do agree. I mean, I think, and I'm actually to the point, man, where I would almost be disappointed if Altuve is not the left field starter for the majority of the season this year. And I think he's going to be. I do think it's funny that we keep talking about whose glove we're borrowing. Like, why can't he just afford a glove? I mean, they pay him enough for a glove. He can't just go to Academy and get a glove.
Well, the fancy thing about that is he doesn't even pay for his own gloves. They're provided for him by Rawlings or Nakona or whoever he decides to use. They show up with a bag full of gloves and say, "Here, Jose, have one." The story, I guess, initially in January when he was shagging flies was, well, I haven't broken it in yet. I learned as a boy how to break in a glove in about 5 days and shaving cream and wrapping it in shoestring and putting it on your mattress. There's a whole host of things. I'm sure major league teams do it better than that.
Yeah.
Sure, certainly somebody in that franchise understands how to break in a glove quicker than what now, 3 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah.
There's got to be a glove. But you know what? I'd rather see him use Marwin's glove and make that be a story because that keeps Marwin Gonzalez in the major leagues somehow.
But why does he have Marwin's glove? Does he need it? I'm very concerned about the glove, man. I'm very concerned.
Well, it's better than Yordan's because at least Marwin could catch the ball. Yordan's it's kind of a adventure.
Yeah. I'm also,
and I like what Yordan had to say about it. I don't know if I'm the guy you need to be asking about defensive things.
Yeah. Although as we noted last year, he played an above average left field when he was out there. Of course,
he
some
was
of that
fine.
Yeah, he had a better arm, I think, than projected. Now, one of my things that I know you and I get fired up for, and this might become more important depending on what the next couple of years with the Astros look like, and it's the thing that Chandler Rome hates the most, is that the Astros promotional calendar has come out. A couple of things that I thought were kind of interesting. Obviously, no more ring days. I was shocked to see nothing that dealt with it being the 20th anniversary of the first World Series appearance. For me, I'm a big theme night guy, as you know, and I was pretty excited about some of the theme nights they've got coming up. Let's see what I wrote down here on my little notes. Let's see. They've got a girls' night out thing. Barbie night could be fun. Peanuts. Obviously, now it's not even just a Star Wars night. It's a Star Wars weekend. And of course, famous Princess Night. They've got stuff all the way down the calendar. August 12th is Superman Night. Do promos at the pro level for you get you out to the ballpark? I know that like it's fun when you go to a minor league game, even more so, I think. But how much does that matter to you?
I mean, for me, it doesn't matter all that much because I go to watch the baseball and that's fine. But for the hardcore fans, and you and I would include in that, but there's a whole host that we communicate with regularly. I don't think they're drawn to the park for a promo night, but the hardcore fans don't sell out the stadium. The people who sell out the stadium are the people who get a couple of pairs of tickets a year, maybe one set of tickets a year, because it's not cheap to go to a ball game anymore.
No.
And they want to bring the whole family. So they want to bring their 3-year-old daughter. They want to bring their 10-year-old son. And those kids, to get interested in baseball, to get them through the door, you're going to have a Princess Night. You're going to have a Star Wars weekend. You're going to have a superhero evening or whatever it is. And for that purpose, it's about getting those young families, those young fans into the park to make them baseball fans. It's a vehicle to get them in there. I don't need the vehicle. I'm already hooked. Sad as it is, I'm trying to figure out how to justify paying Fubo TV $110 a month so I can actually watch the Astros. Although, here's a plea, guys. If you can tell me how to put a VPN on my Firebox and make it work, I will pay you for that information. Anybody, just step by step. I need like I'm a 5-year-old.
Pretend like I'm a 5-year-old and explain this to me.
But I think they're fun, and if there's anybody who has a problem with them, theme nights, having more people at the park, having more ticket sales, having a better crowd is missing the point. I think that's why Chandler Rome got so much grief a few years ago for being such a curmudgeon about Princess Night. It's not about him. He's already in the park and he's working. It's about having an excuse or a reason to get your daughter to a baseball park that she might not normally be interested in going to, and getting those kids, getting those extraneous fans to learn to love the game. And if it takes, Happy Days weekend, fantastic. I'll dress like the Lions.
I wonder who would show up for Happy Days weekend, and how many of them would be dressed as a shark.
People our age.
People our age, yeah. Although I do like the song. And we should, of course, point out that I think once again, the Texas Rangers will be the only Major League Baseball team without Pride Night. You and I have both been to Pride Night several times, and we'd like to remind everybody that it's, in fact, not a recruitment opportunity. It's just a chance to get more people into the ballpark. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that, Andy, because we are a sport whose average age is about 48 years old. That is not how you grow the long-term future of a sport.
Well, and if I'm being wistful, baseball's for everybody, and that's it should be for everybody. And the argument I usually hear is, well, I'm not buying tickets and I'm not going to that, and it's horrible. And it's one of the best attended nights of the year. And so if you want to just look beyond everything else, the Astros make money on those nights.
Yeah.
It's people buy tickets
for it being like a random Tuesday or something, right? Like it's never a Saturday.
So you go and you hear maybe not the Village people this year because they've got some issues, but you hear some ABBA songs. You have somebody fantastic singing the national anthem. It's a fun time. But guess what? Most nights at Daikin Park are a fun time.
Yeah.
Get out, enjoy yourself, and stop pissing on other people's Cheerios.
That's the thing. Quit, just ignore it. But yeah, again, a lot of fun nights. I actually want to try to go to Peanuts Night again. That was fun last time. I'm not going to go to Pride Night this year because the hat is stupid, because it's got one of those cords, which I thought we got rid of those as one society. We didn't ban those in the 90s or something. I
don't know to blame Generation Z or Generation Alpha, but somebody young has brought these things back and they're horrible.
They're terrible. They're just the worst. Now, one of the things, Andy, they are leaning into is several giveaways for City Connects, and the new City Connects will be the first team to get ours announced. Apparently, sometime in early March, Nike will do the reveal. I think one of the favorite things to do outside of figure out who at spring training is going to be the World Series MVP is trying to gauge in what direction that the Astros are going to go. Now, I think most people will tell you that the Space City uniforms was one of the best iterations of the City Connects, and I've heard fans from all over say that.
Yeah.
My fear is that we're going to dive into something that's stupid that young people will like better, like just putting H-Town on the jersey or our area codes. You got any guesses on where this is going? I think we both think there might be a little bit of a mud and blood vibe to them as well.
I have no earthly idea, and Houston's up to 5 area codes now. I think we just had added a new one, so plenty of opportunities. If you did 5 different uniforms with 5 different zip codes, you'd have to buy all of them.
Right.
Which, by the way, as a little aside before we get back to this, Fanatics or Nike or whoever you want to blame has backtracked on the whole uniform thing. So if you went out and bought a authentic jersey last year and thought, wow, this feels really shitty and it's bad, they're not going to sell those anymore. So starting this year, you're able to get, and the players are able to get, which is the important thing, the old gray jerseys that were designed by Majestic and Nike just rebranded. I read up on this weekend, that don't basically become see-through underwear the second somebody starts sweating. So those are getting replaced. And then for the 26 season, the white jerseys will be back to the old materials as well. So save your dollars, folks, because you can get something that's a little bit higher quality for probably the same price, which is still way too expensive.
But they kind of need if they all came with a uniform refresh as well, but that's an off-season conversation.
Yeah, but back to the City Connects. My suspicion is with the way they're pushing the red stagnant star caps from the 2000s, that we're going to get some sort of red and black color scheme with some tan in there. It will finally make Daikin Park make sense from a color scheme standpoint, so that's good. You can go back to that. But I don't know what to expect, and I would guess just based on other Nike drops, it's going to be something that says H-Town or HTX, which is not a thing. Stop! Don't copy Austin. Austin's got enough problems without you trying to co-opt ATX. HOU is fine if you've got to do that, but it's going to be something along those lines. The only other way I see them going, just because they've done it for literally everybody else in this market, is Oilers colors. And I would be there for that, not because I necessarily want one, just because it would make the Adam Strunk family all that more upset.
Yeah.
That they think they own those colors and that somebody else used them. You've seen that with all of the U of H sports teams are now sporting those colors. The Rockets had a version of those colors. So that those are kind of in my mind the one of two ways they're going to go. What I would love to see is something that was predominantly orange, because it's one of our colors, and there's a number of things you could play off of. But I don't think Nike is all that interested in being creative or actually connecting with a city as they are with selling something to people with disposable income. So I'm guessing it's either going to be mud and blood or it's going to be Columbia blue and red.
Yeah, I actually can see more Columbia blue and red, because I don't know that they would dive into reselling the mud and blood stuff if that was going to be the direction they were going to go. I think I'm still, I would love to see it tied culturally to the city of Houston, either something with Bayou City on it or something that does steer into the skid, pun intended, of the oil industry, or the fact that we're the most diverse city in America. Like, there's a lot of things I would love for it to do, but you're right. If Nike's going to get super generic with how they approach the City Connects for Los Angeles, which is a city that I think everybody can figure out stuff to do that would be cool without even thinking about it, I don't have much hope for them. Unless they let the Astros design them, I don't have much hope for it.
Yeah, I was very excited about the Space City Connects because I like them, and it felt like somebody actually gave a shit about what they were promoting. I don't have much faith based on the last rounds of City Connects, the Dodgers redo with the confetti, because Los Angeles is known for their confetti. I guess
Are
It's
they?
got, sure, why not? I would rather have seen a Los Angeles one that honored Frank Drebin and just had a bunch of fireworks on the jersey and nothing to see here.
Well, I would have. I mean,
But
I
yeah,
think
I have zero faith, and honestly, that's probably good for my pocketbook. That it's probably not something I'm going to need to rush out and buy, especially if they're still on the cheap Fanatic shell this year.
yeah, no, I mean you're right, and
Or do something with like freeway congestion. We're very good at freeway congestion. We're about to move 45 from one side of downtown to another for God knows what reason. You could honor that.
God, how long is that going to take?
A decade
Decade?
at least.
Yeah, forever.
Well, just imagine how long it's going to take them to bury 35 near Memorial Stadium, and then multiply that by, hurricane.
I've multiplied that by a hurricane. That's great. Aggies, hot start to college baseball. Longhorns, good start to college baseball. But nice to see it back though, to be able to flip through the SEC Plus and just see game after game after game after game after game.
Yeah. We talk about overreacting to things.
Oh, I saw.
A&M lost a game yesterday to Cal Poly, which makes them 5-1 or something. And just to give you a little perspective, it's the first non-conference loss for A&M in 629 days, and the first home non-conference loss in 670 days. So it's been a minute. And if you know anything about baseball, which you do, sometimes you drop a game against a team that is not as talented. And I don't think anybody would look at the Cal Poly roster and the A&M roster and go, boy, these are equal teams and anything could happen. Anything can happen any day in baseball.
Yeah.
Of course, our fan base is losing their damn minds because we have a bunch of football fans who all of a sudden are paying attention to baseball because it's been good for the last few years. It's a loss. You're going to have them. Nobody goes 45-0 in college baseball anymore, or 55-0, whatever the number of games you play, or ever. No one's ever gone 55-0. And it doesn't affect anything other than feeding into your fears that maybe the bullpen's not where we need it to be. Or maybe it was a shitty weather weekend and offense couldn't. I watched the game yesterday. I watched all of it. I will tell you that there were 2 home runs that should have been hit that died on the track because the wind was blowing in from the north. That isn't going to be an issue a week from now.
Right.
And so you blew a game. You shouldn't have lost, but you did.
Yeah.
Getting worked up about any of these kind of losses at this point of the season, though, is just silly. It has nothing to do with the SEC. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're going to get a regional or make it to a super regional or make it to Omaha. It's a weird quirk of fate, the way baseball works. And I think every team experiences them at some point or another. Now, do we keep losing games in non-conference? Then it becomes a problem. But one game here and there doesn't make that big a deal.
Yeah, our fan base was melting down because we didn't beat Dartmouth bad enough. Like that was really it, because I think they won the first 2 games by a run. But like we were saying, in Austin, Texas, it was 29 degrees on Friday. Like nobody wanted to be out there. And I can't imagine swinging a composite bat in 29-degree weather.
It was in the 30s and 40s for all 3 games in College Station this weekend. There was an hour-and-a-half rain delay on Saturday, which caused some people to freak out because we came back out and Cal Poly scored a run. Made it closer than it should have been. It ultimately, these are warm-up games. Do they count on the record? Yes. Does anybody look at it and go, "Oh, this is a weak team"? No, that's not how this is. It's not how college baseball is played. But we're in the era of overreacting to things. So let's just go on and overreact. Everything's hopeless. Sell me your tickets.
Yeah, exactly. And that seems like a good enough time to jump to our Aggie, Longhorn, and Astros clip of the week. And I do want to actually give some explanation to mine. So University of Texas has won, I believe it's the 45th straight conference championship in swimming and diving. And I'm sure a lot of you rolled your eyes out there, but y'all schools have swimming and diving too, just not as good as ours. And so it's kind of neat. They've won 45 straight conference titles across 3 conferences. So dating back to the old Southwest Conference. But My clips, though, one of my favorite people on the planet. She was an actor for me in my movie A Chance of Snow and the 5-year. Shelby Cullinan was a national champion at the University of Texas. And so I texted her and asked her to send me some of her actual diving clips. So here they are.
Yeah! Woo! So far. And that's pretty far. How far to be exact? Gavin Grahovac got it out of here. Whips it right through the cold, over the wall and left to the Aggies. Up 2-0 now.
Pedro Guerrero. Here's a swing and a ground ball, and it's taken at first base by Bergman. He goes to the bag. The season is over, and the Astros have won it. The Houston Astros have won their first pennant ever. They are the champions of the Western Division of the National League. As Bergman took the last ground ball, jogged to the bag, and it was over.
All right, Andy, as we get ready to wrap up here, you and I did get to go to the movies or saw some movies this weekend. I saw 3 new ones. Let me just say, The Monkey was fun, but wait for cable. Wait for October. It literally was just an excuse to see how much of an effects budget they had, which again is fun. Don't need to be there. I'm a fan of the Bridget Jones Diary movies. The most recent one I felt like was way too sad that it had any business of being. It was a reflection on losing one's partner, older in age and everything, and definitely didn't fit the same fun vibe that we had gotten from the previous ones. But the little rom-com with Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell was a little bit different and a lot of fun. A little bit different, Andy, in the sense, in many ways, Reese Witherspoon was kind of the villain of the film. And that's not something you normally see in a rom-com. Usually the guy is the villain. So I thought it was an interesting take. But you saw something cool too.
Well, I will say, first of all, Reese Witherspoon is a villain in my world because she pulled, this was several years ago and everybody has their bad moments, but she pulled the whole "do you know who I am" thing when she got pulled over for drunk driving several years ago. And I still hold that against her.
I hold her being in that show on Apple TV, the morning show, just against her, period.
There's probably some other things I'd like to hold against her, but that's not this show. So I saw Brave
that, by the way.
Yeah, I saw Brave New World, and I will say it's fine. It's not the worst movie that's ever been made, like some people are wanting you to believe. It's not an incredible Marvel movie. It's fine. It's solidly in the middle. Could you tell that it was rewritten in the middle? Maybe, if you cared, but things blew up. There was a big red Hulk, lots of action and explosions. That's what I wanted to eat popcorn for. The better movie that I saw this weekend, though, was Companion. I'm not giving anything away because it was given away in the trailer that the main character, Sophie Thatcher's character, Iris, is a robot. She's a sex bot, a companion, if you will. But they kind of turned the whole robot genre on its ear a little bit at what happens next. Most of the things you see in the trailer happen in the first act, so they're not giving a whole lot away. I almost kind of wish they didn't give away the fact that she was a companion bot. But they do that within the first 15 minutes of the film anyway. But it was really good. It was a nice dark comedy, intrigue, a lot of twists and turns. It's a good addition to a genre that I think doesn't get enough play, but with the advent of AI, it's like Megan if you wanted to enjoy yourself at Megan.
Wait a minute. I did enjoy myself at Megan.
Yeah, but you weren't scared. You didn't need to be scared shitless by Megan. You're certainly not going to be scared shitless by Iris. They're different types of films. But I think it's a nice addition to that genre because some of the robot movies, frankly, get a little bit. I don't even know if are robot movies a genre.
Well, they are, but I know what you're saying. It's like most recently they've all been like these Isaac Asimov deep explorations of the human condition, and I don't necessarily like 2001 level stuff. I don't need that all the time. Sometimes a dark comedy about a robot that has sex with you is exactly what I want.
Yeah, and that's kind of what it is. But I think it's well acted. I think the parts were done well. I think there's enough to keep the average person engaged. And I think that if you start looking at the genre and you're trying to compare it to iRobot, it turns some of the conventions about the 3 rules of robotics on its ear, which is fun. And it's also really reflective of a younger generation that feels they've got to mod everything and some of the bad things that can happen when you start messing with the normal order.
Don't get me started on the younger generation. All right, well, that does seem like a good enough place to leave it. We're going to be back later on this week to talk about who else the Astros are blocking by trying to find someone that's not just major league replacement level for a position. For Andy Tom Chesson, I'm Jim Christopher. This has been Off Day with Ballpark Nation.